window that glowed after midnight. You might tell yourself that houses are only wood and brick, that they are obedient things that do what you expect, shelter people, keep heat, keep light. But there is a cottage at the bend of the lane that seems to have learned another habit entirely. After midnight, one small window wakes and keeps vigil with a soft, warm glow that never flickers. It doesn't illuminate the yard like a porch lamp. It is quieter, like the memory of a light. And sometimes, if you are watching from your own window across the street, it seems to hold its breath as if listening for an absent voice. In the dark months, the lane slouches under the weight of long shadows. You know each bend, the old willow, the stone with the faded initials, the mailbox tilting gently to the left. The cottage itself looks like a photograph left too long on a mantel, its cream paint softened by patience. Neighbors say the owner left years ago, sometimes that they died. People shrug, unsure whether anyone still belongs there. But every night, when the rest of the town folds its windows into sleep, that single pane glows in the same gentle tone, warm tea, a remembered candle, until the first birds begin to gossip at dawn. At first you assume practical causes. A lamp someone forgot to switch off, a neighbor watering plants, a phone charger blinking in the dark. But the glow holds itself with unusual precision, never flickering, never bending to the wind. When the willow moves, the glow stays still. When cars pass, it does not dim. When rain whispers down, it does not blink. And when you press your forehead to your own glass in the small hours, you begin to feel this is not a light meant for seeing. It is a light meant for keeping something company. One evening you go out because curiosity is a small animal that refuses to sleep. You leave your hallway lamp off and step into a night that feels like thick cloth. The path crunches softly beneath your shoes. The glow sits at the end of the lane like a patient coin. As you approach, the world rearranges itself around your breath. When you reach the gate, there is no silhouette in the window, no figure waiting, only the sill where a folded scrap of paper lies, as if placed with care. You pick it up. The paper is warm, as though kept beneath a hand, and a single line is written in small, private handwriting. I am learning the shape of leaving. For a moment, the world goes still, and you feel something soft and odd move through you. How a place can practice the manners of absence. The cottage does not ask you to solve it. Instead, it teaches you how to be gentle with endings. Over the next nights, more scraps appear. Small sentences, a child's doodle, the corner of an old photograph. Each left as though the house is learning how to speak again. When you stoop to tie your shoe, the window seems to blink, just barely, like a tired eyelid. You think, for a quiet moment, that the house itself remembers, and the thought does not frighten you. It warms the night like a soft breath. Sometimes you bring something to leave, a penny, a strip of ribbon, a pebble smooth enough to be a thought. Not every offering disappears. Some stay for days. But once, after you left a small cup of tea, you returned to find it gone, and in its place, the scrap read softly, "Thank you." You laughed then, not from humor, but from the strange feeling of being included in a conversation made of paper and patience. There is a rhythm to this exchange, a lesson that seeps into you like warm water, how to live with things that do not return on schedule, how to tend the soft edges of absence. One night the glow is paler, and the paper reads, "I practiced saying goodbye." You imagine someone long ago rehearsing a gesture in silence, teaching the house how to keep vigil for them. You imagine the window as a pupil and the night as its teacher, and somehow that comforts you, not with answers, but with the idea that memory, like a lamp, can be tended. Weeks pass. Quietly, steadily, the lane becomes a small pilgrimage. You walk it without thinking, the way someone checks on an old friend. The window keeps its gentle appointment each night, constant, patient, almost parental. And when you return home, you carry a hush with you, the awareness that something in the world keeps watch so others may rest. And in the soft hour before dawn, when the house around you inhales slowly and your eyes drift half closed, you might remember the warm glow across the lane and feel a small consolation settle into your chest, the knowing that places too can practice care. When you finally sleep, it happens gently, not with a jolt, but with the mild, nurturing weight of something kind resting beside you, as though the window has been keeping a small promise warm for you, waiting for the moment you pass again beneath the willow. Story 2. Footsteps in the snow that never lead anywhere. You may believe footprints are honest things, that they mark where someone has been and promise where they intend to go. But after a certain thin snow falls in the town by the sea, you begin to notice paths that seem indecisive, prints that wander into white silence and simply stop, as if their maker had grown unsure of continuing. The morning after the storm, the yard becomes a clean sheet. Your own steps crisp and confident as you cross the frosted ground. Later, when sunlight softens the horizon, a narrow trail appears quiet, deliberate, crossing the lawn, climbing the low wall, and ending in the middle of untouched snow. No door ahead, no gate, no sign of someone pausing to tie a shoe. The prints end the way a sentence ends when the writer falls asleep mid-thought. At first you think of animals, foxes, or the neighbor's wandering dog. But the shape is wrong. The steps are too careful, too human. New sets arrive over the next nights. Some approach your porch and then retreat. Others circle a lamppost in a slow, almost conversational loop. Sometimes they align into shapes that resemble letters if you tilt your head and let the cold correct your imagination. S-O-M-E before the wind brushes them away. You begin to wonder whether the snow itself is practicing the art of leaving things unfinished. One evening, you place a small copper coin where the prince last paused, a simple test to see if something notices. In the morning, the coin remains, but a fresh print stops just short of touching it. The snow around it holds a scalloped indentation, as if something leaned close to consider the coin, then politely decided against taking it. The gesture feels strangely courteous, like someone whispering, "Excuse me," to an empty room. After several nights of watching, curiosity tugs at you like a sleeve. You step outside and follow a wandering trail that ends beside the riverbank. There is no drama when you arrive, only thin ice whispering across the surface, and a small sculpture of a snow rose set delicately atop the final footprint. It is shaped by someone unhurried, someone with time to make beauty in cold places. You lift it carefully, feeling the crisp edges softening against your palm. Later, you tuck it into your coat pocket, knowing it will melt, but wanting to remember the kindness of something unfinished. The prints do not teach you only about leaving, they teach you about arrival. One afternoon, a slender curve of steps approaches your door and pauses. You sit inside, very still, as if your breathing might change the snow outside. No knock, no shadow under the door. When you open it moments later, the steps are there, ending with the discipline of someone who knows not to intrude. The air carries a faint scent, pine and paper, like someone who had been thinking of you and forgot their coat. The more nights you spend noticing, the clearer their intention becomes. The prints are not random. They move gently through gardens, pause near fences, converge around lampposts, as though practicing polite conversation between strangers. When you leave small gifts, a ribbon tied to the fence, a crumb of bread, a pebble placed carefully in the snow, the prints later approach them with quiet curiosity. One morning, you find a thin loop of thread left behind, matching the color of your ribbon as if to say, "Seen." There are nights of emptiness too, mornings when you wake to find smooth, unmarked snow, a blankness like a missed train. Oddly, you feel their absence. But then the next night, the prints return softly, patiently, and you are relieved in a way that surprises you. You begin to understand that endings require practice, that leaving must be learned gently, the way one learns to fold a letter without creasing it too harshly. The spring eventually comes, and the snow melts without ceremony, leaving behind no proof except the softened memory of shapes your eyes once traced. Months later, while dusting a windowsill, you notice a faint curve in the powder, an echo of a footprint's arc, and you smile, remembering the way you once stood in your doorway, waiting for a set of steps to decide. Tonight, as you settle beneath your blankets, you might wake for a brief moment. Imagine Story 3, the lake that returns lost voices. You might suppose that water forgets, that it rinses names away, swallows moments whole, and carries off anything small enough to slip beneath its surface. But there is a lake behind the old boathouse that behaves differently. On certain quiet nights, when the world folds itself into stillness, the lake returns fragments of voices, soft syllables, half laughs, pieces of names that feel like warm coats found after years. By day, the lake is ordinary, cool, glassy, full of ducks making calm little arguments. Nothing hints at what it remembers. The townspeople rarely come near at dusk, though. They whisper gentle stories about those who wandered too close and returned with pieces of themselves quietly rearranged. Yet, if you stand by the rotting boards of the boathouse and let the silence settle, the water sometimes offers a sound like someone rummaging through a box of old keepsakes, murmuring, "Remember this." The first time it happens, you laugh softly at your imagination until you realize the laugh you just heard, the one lifting from the water, is the exact pitch of a laugh you knew decades ago, a laugh you have not heard since childhood, and your breath stirs as if someone placed a warm hand against your ribs. The lake never offers full sentences, only fragments, half a melody, the end of a familiar phrase, a spoken name that seems to hover in the air before being carried back into the water. You find yourself bringing a notebook to capture these small offerings. Writing them down makes the sounds feel less stolen and more returned. Sometimes the lake gives you a bar of a song your grandmother hummed while cooking. Sometimes it whispers the name of a childhood friend, leaving the rest hanging tenderly in the air, as if inviting you to complete the memory yourself. The lake gives the edges, trusting you to fill the center with warmth. It is gentle in its generosity. The lake does not mimic the living or pretend to be anything supernatural. It simply lends you fragments that feel like stitched pieces of time, the way a neighbor might leave sugar on your doorstep without knocking. When you speak the fragments aloud later, they seem to last longer. And once, after repeating a phrase the lake had given you, an old friend you had not spoken to in years called you unexpectedly. Conversations sometimes echo like that. Small objects begin appearing near the boathouse too. A matchbox, a button missing from your coat, a smooth pebble you vaguely recall losing in childhood. None dramatic, all familiar. It feels as if the lake quietly keeps a ledger of the world's small absences, returning what might help someone continue. Then one night, when you come with no expectation at all, the lake speaks your name in the voice of someone who used to tuck you into bed. The sound presses into your chest with the warmth of a remembered embrace. You stand there until your fingers ache from the cold, unable to leave until the water falls silent again. When you finally turn away, something feather-light rests in your pocket, not physical, perhaps, but you feel its comfort all the same. The lake has limits. It cannot mend what is broken, cannot restore the past whole, but what it gives is sometimes enough. The shape of a laugh, the rhythm of a name, the echo of a tenderness you once knew. These fragments perform a kind of stitching, a small, quiet mending of the fabric between then and now. If sleeplessness takes you someday, if the night widens its throat and your thoughts feel hollow, go to the lake. Stand with your hands tucked in your coat. Offer nothing, say nothing. The lake may still give you something. 2 syllables that follow you gently all the way home. Keep them as you would a warm stone, something to hold when the world presses too hard. Tonight, as you lie between breaths, imagine the lake exhaling your lost pieces back to you, laying them softly at your doorstep, never staying long enough to be a burden, only long enough to say, remember this. End of story 3. Story 4. The town that only appears on cloudy nights. There's a small stretch of land beneath the low hills where, when the sky gathers heavy clouds, an entire town quietly slips into being. It does not hide. It simply prefers the world when the light is dim and the air is thick with patient fog. In those hours, street lamps glow like polite lanterns. Windows bloom with soft amber, and people move through the cobblestone streets with the gentle awareness of actors who know the scene will vanish by morning. You might find it by accident, driving home with the radio low, when a side lane blurs into view, and suddenly you're rolling over cobblestones that were not there the day before. A bakery window shows a single candle warming a row of fresh buns. A bench in the square rests, as though it has been waiting for you all night. And somewhere, faintly, a piano practices a slow note that dissolves into the fog like a sigh. The people are not eerie. They are as welcoming as quiet ghosts, smiling with the sort of warmth that never demands conversation. A man hands you a paper-wrapped sweet and nods, as though offering comfort without asking your name. A shopkeeper arranges small objects with delicate precision: an old watch, a pair of spectacles, a child's mitten knitted long ago. Each item feels familiar, the kind of thing someone loses without noticing until much later. The displays look less like merchandise and more like a catalog of the world's forgotten comforts. As you wander, you find notes pinned discreetly on lampposts, tucked into library books, folded beneath stones, short, consoling messages written in small, lovely handwriting. It is allowed to be quiet. You may take one small piece for the road. You take a brass button once and feel a surprising weight to it, not of metal, but of intention, as if someone, somewhere, knew you needed something to keep in your pocket on difficult days. There is one house, however, whose curtains never part. A closed place, a silent place. When you stand near its garden, you feel a tug, like a story that has refused an audience for years. You don't push its boundaries. The house carries its own privacy, like a shawl wrapped around its shoulders. One fog-heavy night, as you cross the square, you notice a woman in a dark shawl walking in a slow, thoughtful loop. She passes you without sound and disappears into a patch of fog where the lamplight thins. Later, when you reach into your coat pocket, you find a small folded paper crane you're certain you did not bring. Its wings are creased with startling care, as though placed there by hands that wanted to thank you for simply noticing the town. The rules of this place are strict but kind. It appears only under clouded skies, and it will not answer direct questions about its nature. But what it offers, instead, is a chance to practice gentleness with yourself. You might sit on a stoop and overhear two neighbors discussing how to mend a torn sleeve. Watch an old man scatter seeds for birds, as if repairing something invisible in the world. Or listen to the piano return to its single, wandering note. Everything here is soft repair, quiet restitution. When the clouds thin and the sky brightens, the town exhales and eases itself back into whatever fold it came from. The cobblestones merge with plain road. The bakery window dims. The bench becomes only a memory of a bench. If by dawn you find a pressed flower or a tiny button in your pocket, accept it for what it is. A farewell gift from a place that exists only when the world needs gentleness. Later tonight, as you lie in bed, imagine a small lamp flicking on somewhere in that hidden town, warming a single room long enough for someone, maybe even you, to remember how to be kind again before the clouds drift apart and morning forgets the place entirely. Story 5. The Hallway That Breathes. There is a modest hotel at the edge of town, a place that most people pass without noticing, its paint softened by seasons, its windows calm as closed eyes. But if you are given a room near the center of the building, you begin to notice something unusual about it. A rhythm, gentle and slow, as if the main hallway itself is breathing. At first, you tell yourself it must be the boiler, or the shifting of old pipes behind the walls. Buildings do that: expand, settle, sigh. But this sound is different. It rises and falls with the cadence of a sleeping body, patient, aware of you, in a quiet and protective way. When you step out into the hallway at night, you feel the air move ever so slightly, as though the corridor inhaled just before you arrived. The carpet is worn in a comforting way, threads flattened by years of footsteps. The wallpaper, patterned with pale leaves, trembles softly when the building exhales. Once, you glance down the long hallway and swear you see the faintest ripple along the floorboards, subtle enough to question, sure enough to feel. It is as if the hotel has been learning for decades how to soothe those who come carrying their storms. You walk slowly, almost without realizing why, until the rhythm of your steps aligns with the rhythm of that breath. You feel your shoulders lower, your pulse settle, your thoughts soften in the dim glow of the wall lamps. There is no fear here, only the gentle certainty that you have entered a place that remembers every tired person who ever needed rest. A door opens a fraction of an inch as you pass, just enough for a sliver of warm lamplight to escape. No face appears, no voice calls out. You simply feel acknowledged, as if the building makes space for you. When you glance back, the door is already closed quietly, politely, like a gesture someone practiced again and again, until it became perfect. Sometimes a scent travels through the hallway, carried on a breath that seems older than the hotel itself. Soap and lemon once, rain and old paper another night. The smells arrive with the subtlety of memory drifting into consciousness, just gentle enough to make you pause, to make you listen. The staff knows of the hallway's temperaments, though they do not speak of them directly. Old buildings have quirks, the desk clerk says, smiling as if he knows far more than he admits. His voice lowers, his eyes soften, like someone offering reassurance instead of explanation. One night, as you turn a corner, you see a child, small, solemn, barefoot, standing in the center of the corridor. She lifts her hand and points to a brass plaque on the wall that you swear wasn't there yesterday. You step closer, the hallway breathes in, and the plaque gains a word you did not see before. Rest. Before you can ask anything, the child steps backward into a doorway. The door closes without a sound, like a page being turned by careful fingers. From that night on, you begin to notice small offerings left by other guests. A knitted hat folded on a bench, a pair of gloves placed symmetrically near a radiator, a handwritten note pinned gently to the wallpaper. We sleep gently here. The hallway accepts these gifts the way a friend accepts flowers, quietly, gratefully, without ceremony. One evening, as you pause near the center of the building, you notice a faint hum beneath the breath, not mechanical, nothing like a fan or pipe, more like the murmuring of a distant lullaby. The wallpaper sways, almost imperceptibly, and from below the baseboards, a small wooden box slides forward, as if nudged by invisible hands. You kneel, open it, and find a single folded scrap inside. It reads, "It is kinder to remember softly." You carry that line in your pocket for days. It shapes you, gently, the way soft truths do. You begin noticing how often you have remembered harshly, how many moments deserved a softer version of you. On nights when you are tense, the hallway inhales deeply as you enter, matching the weight in your chest. When you return from a difficult day, the exhale feels longer, smoother, like a hand resting lightly between your shoulders. It does not remove your burdens, no place can, but it rearranges them in a way that makes them bearable. Once, after you return to your room from crying quietly in the stairwell, you pause outside your door. The hallway seems to hold its breath for you, not in silence, but in empathy. And when you finally exhale, you feel the corridor breathe with you, letting the air out slowly, patiently, the way someone does when they're making sure you won't collapse. Rain isolates the hotel one stormy night, making the outside world dissolve into a sheet of gray. The building creaks under the weight of water, and yet the hallway grows warmer, more alive. You walk its full length and notice tiny footprints in the carpet, not adult ones, but the faint impressions of children. They lead toward a small service hatch near the far end, a hatch you never noticed before. You kneel, open it carefully, and inside, folded like a secret waiting for the right person, lies a paper strip with 2 words written in hurried but loving handwriting. Stay soft. The message hums through you with the same quiet wisdom as the building itself. Softness is not weakness. Softness is survival. Softness is remembering yourself when the world forgets to. Before you sleep that night, you imagine the hotel breathing beneath you, each inhale pulling your worries from your chest, each exhale returning only warmth. And for the first time in a long while, you sleep without bracing for anything. You wake in the middle of the night, not with fear, but with the gentle pull of curiosity. Something in the building feels different, warmer, slower, almost expectant. You step out of your room, letting the door click softly behind you, and the hallway greets you with a long, steady exhale. You stand there for a moment, letting the breath wash over your shoulders like a warm shawl. The lamps flicker faintly, not in warning, but as if stretching after a long nap. The air feels aware of you, like someone waiting for you to speak first. You walk forward, your steps automatically quiet, respectful. Halfway down the corridor, you notice something strange. The hallway is wider, not dramatically, just a few inches more space than you remember, as though it has shifted its walls outward, making more room for whatever you are carrying tonight. A door to your right opens itself slowly, an invitation without pressure. Inside, you glimpse a dim room, a chair turned toward the window, a quilt folded with loving precision, and on the small table beside the bed, a cup of tea still steaming gently. It shouldn't be possible. No one should be awake to prepare it. And yet the steam curls toward you like a greeting. You step back. The door closes itself politely, like someone bowing. When you reach the center of the hallway, you feel a shift beneath your feet, a subtle vibration, rhythmic and slow. You realize the breathing isn't just air, it's the building's heartbeat. It has one, and for reasons you don't fully understand, it has chosen to match it to yours. A warmth spreads through the floorboards, rising gently into your legs, your chest. You close your eyes and feel the pulse settle your thoughts into place, like books being returned to the correct shelves. When you open them again, the hallway looks slightly different, not in structure, but in expression. If a place could express itself, this one is smiling. You continue walking. A soft, scraping sound catches your attention, not threatening, just curious. You look down to see a sheet of paper sliding across the carpet, pushed by an invisible hand until it rests against your shoe. You bend down, pick it up, and unfold it. The handwriting is uneven, childlike. Thank you for being gentle. You swallow a breath you didn't realize you were holding. It feels like the hallway has been watching you, not to judge, but to learn how to comfort better. Places remember kindness the way people do, sometimes even better. You slip the note into your pocket and move on. The hum beneath your feet grows faintly stronger. It guides you toward the far end of the corridor, toward a heavy door you've never seen before. The door is painted a soft gray, its surface smooth and unmarked, except for a single small symbol carved near the top, a circle with a line through it. You touch it gently. It is warm, differently warm, as if many hands have touched it before yours. The door opens slowly, not outward, not inward, but sideways, like a sliding panel. The hallway exhales at the same moment, as if relieved that you finally noticed. Inside is a small room lit by one dim lamp. Not a guest room, not a storage space, something else entirely. In the center sits a wooden table with dozens of folded notes spread out across it. You step closer, the air thick with quiet emotion. Each note is written in a different hand, different eras, different languages, but all share the same tone. Messages from past travelers, left not for the hotel, but for the hallway itself. You pick one at random. The handwriting trembles with age. You held me through a night when I could not hold myself. Another written in firm block letters. I slept for the first time in weeks. Thank you. A tiny note, no bigger than a matchbox label. You helped me breathe. You feel your throat tighten, not with sorrow, but with recognition. You place your own note on the table, blank for now. You don't know what to write yet, but the hallway seems patient, as if saying, take your time. As you stand there, the hum beneath your feet begins to rise, soft at first, a vibration so gentle. It feels almost like a cat purring behind the walls, then stronger, warmer, steady and enveloping. You lay your palm on the table. The wood warms under your touch, as if the building is placing its hand beneath yours. For a moment, you feel weightless, not physically, but emotionally. Your worries lose their edges, their sharpness, their urgency. You understand with sudden clarity that the hallway has not just been comforting you. It has been keeping you company. The way a friend sits beside you on a long, difficult night, quietly, silently, but fully present. You sit down in the simple wooden chair. The hallway inhales, you exhale, and the two breaths meet in the middle, like hands held without touching. Minutes pass, or maybe hours. It's hard to tell in a place that breathes. When you finally rise, your chest feels lighter, not empty, but arranged, neatened, softened. The building has done what it could, and somehow that is enough. Before leaving, you pick up the blank note you placed earlier, and you write just one sentence. Thank you for teaching me how to be gentle with myself. You place the note among the others. The moment it touches the table, the hallway exhales, a warm, settling sigh, like someone tucking in a child. You step out of the room, and the door slides shut behind you with the finality of a bedtime story closing. The hum quiets, the breath steadies, and the building returns to rest. When you reach your room and lie down, the mattress feels softer, the pillow kinder, the night quieter. You feel the hotel breathing beneath you, a steady, ancient rhythm that cradles your thoughts until they finally loosen their grip. And as you drift into sleep, you realize the truth the hallway had been whispering all along. You are not alone in your tiredness, and you never have to learn softness by yourself. Not here, not tonight, not while something in the walls is still breathing with you. End of story 5. Story 6. The lantern floating at the edge of the woods. You might find it strange how a single small light can make an entire forest feel awake. At the far edge of town, where the last houses give up and let the trees take over, a lantern sometimes appears drifting between the trunks, moving with the patience of a quiet thought. It doesn't swing like something held by a hand. It doesn't flicker like a flame battling the wind. Instead, it drifts lightly, deliberately, as though the air itself is carrying it. Its glow is warm, the color of late supper and distant comfort, a soft golden hush in the dark. People call it a trick of the eye or swamp gas, or an old camper's lamp long forgotten. But you know better. The forest knows better too. There is intention in that glow, and tenderness, a steady invitation without pressure. The first time you see it, you are standing near the tree line, your breath fogging into the cold air. The lantern floats between two tall pines, pausing as if noticing you. You step forward, and it drifts a little deeper into the woods, not to frighten you, but to ask softly, "Are you coming?" The forest is quiet tonight. Branches hold their breath. Even the wind seems curious rather than cold. You take a few careful steps, your shoes pressing into the moss with a muted hush. The lantern keeps a gentle distance from you, close enough to follow, far enough that you never feel chased. It behaves like a guide who respects your pace and your hesitations. As you walk farther in, the darkness around you thickens, the way ink deepens on a page, but the lantern softens everything it touches: the bark, the roots, the small stones half buried in soil. Its glow makes the forest seem less like a place you enter, and more like a place that has been waiting for you. There is no sound except your breathing, and the faint hum the lantern carries with it. A hum so low you don't hear it at first, you feel it. In your ribs, in your palms, like someone humming a lullaby from the other side of a wall, comforting, steady, older than you, older than the town. It pauses near a fallen log. You pause too, a moment of shared stillness. The lantern brightens just slightly, as if pleased you understood the rhythm of its movement. You notice something resting on the log, a button. Small, brass, carefully polished as though someone had held it lovingly. You pick it up, and the lantern dims, as if nodding. The forest around you feels warmer now, not in temperature, but in sentiment. You sense it adjusting itself, softening its shadows, so you don't feel unwelcome. Every tree watches without staring. Every branch listens without leaning. Even the leaves seem to part for your steps. The lantern moves again, slow and steady. You follow. It leads you to a stump encircled by mushrooms, tiny white caps glowing faintly in the lantern's light. They look like an audience gathered for a gentle performance. The lantern hovers above them, motionless, as though waiting for you to notice something. On top of the stump lies a small scrap of paper, folded many times over. You unfold it carefully. Inside, written in a looping, delicate hand, is a message. For the keeping of small lights. A breath catches in your throat, not fear, but recognition. Somehow the message feels meant for you. as if the lantern has been watching you longer than you realized, seeing how often you dim yourself for others or try to hold quiet things alone. The forest feels closer now, leaning in with patient attentiveness. When you tuck the note safely into your pocket, the lantern lifts, brightening just a little its version of a smile. You follow it deeper still, the trees parting around you like curtains drawn open. The smell of damp leaves thickens in the air. Your footfalls become quieter, your chest lighter. You begin to understand that this is not simply a lantern, but a companion of sorts, something that recognizes loneliness the way certain animals smell rain before it falls, something that knows how to guide without pulling, how to beckon without demanding. As you walk, memories begin rising soft, small ones, things you forgot you forgot. A lost glove from childhood, a necklace you misplaced years ago, a voice calling you home at dusk. These memories don't hurt. They drift through you like gentle visitors, pausing long enough to remind you that you have been carried through many nights before this one. The lantern drifts closer, just for a moment, and its warmth touches your cheek like the back of a familiar hand. Then it pulls away again, respectful as ever. You reach a small clearing, a circular patch of earth surrounded by tall, thoughtful trees. The lantern stops in the center and hangs there, perfectly still. The air feels suspended, as if waiting for a secret to be spoken. The hum grows slightly stronger, a quiet vibration in your bones. You realize this place is special to the lantern, sacred even, a place where things go when they want to be remembered. At the clearing's edge, you notice an arrangement of objects, rings, hairpins, tiny stones, marbles, notes curled from age, laid out with meticulous care. Not offerings, not trophies, something gentler, something like rescued moments, things people lost but mourned quietly for, things the lantern found and kept safe until someday someone might need them again. Just as you take a step closer, a twig snaps behind you, not sharply, but softly, like someone politely clearing their throat. You turn. No one is there. Only the forest, breathing with you. The lantern dims, then brightens again, as if reassuring you, as if saying you're safe. And you believe it. For reasons you can't name, you believe it completely. You step deeper into the clearing, the lantern waiting patiently for you to understand why it brought you here on this night, in this quiet, in this old, listening place. You stand in the clearing, the air holding its breath, as though the forest itself is waiting for you to settle into the moment. The lantern hovers a few feet ahead, steady, patient, warm, a small sun with nowhere else to be. You realize that for the first time in a long while, you are not thinking about where you should be, or who needs you, or what waits for you tomorrow. You are only here, with this glow, with this stillness, with this gentle, impossible lantern. Slowly, it drifts toward the collection of small, lost objects arranged on the forest floor. The rings, the feathers, the marbles, the folded notes, that look like tiny sleeping birds. When its light touches them, they shimmer faintly, not with magic exactly, but with the tenderness of something remembered. You get the sense that the lantern has carried each piece at some point through the dark, kept them safe, kept them warm, kept them seen. And then you notice something new, a space, an empty space, as if the lantern left room for something that isn't here yet, something waiting for meaning, something that belongs to someone who hasn't realized they've lost it. The lantern turns toward you, not physically, but in the way its glow tilts ever so slightly, the way a friend meets your eyes without moving their head. It feels like a question, soft, curious, open, as if it's asking whether you have something to place here, something gentle, something you've been carrying too long, not an object, but a memory, a thought, a weight. Your hand moves to your pocket without thinking, but there's nothing there you can offer, not in the physical sense. Still, the lantern's warmth grows a little stronger, as though telling you that what you're meant to leave is not something it can hold, but something you can. A breath, a heaviness, a quiet grief you've kept folded too tightly. You close your eyes. For a moment, the forest disappears, and all you feel is a single inhale, yours, and a long, slow exhale coming from somewhere just beyond your ribs, as if the lantern has joined its breath to yours. You let something go there, something small but stubborn, something you didn't know needed releasing until the moment it softened in your chest. When you open your eyes again, the empty space among the objects seems somehow full, not with anything you can see, but with a new arrangement of quiet, a held silence, a softened truth. The lantern drifts back a little, giving you space to breathe more easily. Around you, the clearing feels lighter, as if the trees have stepped back respectfully, giving you room to exist without tightening. You didn't expect this. You didn't know the forest had room for you at all. And yet here you are, in a place that feels like it has known your shape for a long time. A sudden rustling makes you turn. Small footsteps, not human, not heavy, move through the underbrush. A fox emerges, its fur glowing faintly under the lantern's light. It sits a few feet away, tilting its head at you in a way that feels almost conversational, as though it, too, has been guided here. As though the lantern leads more than just people to the places where they must unburden themselves. The fox watches, blinks slowly, and curls its tail around its paws before disappearing between the trees without a sound. You feel no fear, only a gentle sense of being included in something older than explanation. The lantern brightens briefly, a pulse of gold, then begins to move again, lifting higher as it drifts toward a narrow path on the far side of the clearing. You follow, your footsteps quieter now, your body looser, as though the forest floor has softened specifically for you. The trees lean along the path, their branches arching overhead like a cathedral of old wood and memory. You step beneath them, and for a moment you feel held. Not trapped, held. The lantern slows near a fallen birch trunk, its bark pale as winter breath. On the trunk rests a fold of fabric, a scarf, perhaps, faintly frayed at the edges. When you lift it, a scent rises, one you haven't smelled in years, or maybe only forgot how to remember. A scent that once meant safety to you, belonging. You press the fabric to your chest, and the lantern dims in a way that feels like nodding, as if saying, "Take your time." You sit on the fallen trunk, the scarf in your lap, breathing in a memory you didn't realize you'd lost until the forest offered it back to you. You stay like that for a long while, long enough for the night to rearrange itself around your stillness. The lantern hovers nearby, glow steady and loyal, keeping watch without watching too closely. The hum it carries feels softer now, more like the murmur of someone humming to themselves in another room, comforting simply because it exists. When you stand again, the scarf in hand, the lantern rises slowly, as though asking if you're ready to continue. You nod, and the lantern begins to drift back the way you came, leading you through the same arch of trees, past the moss-soft earth, past the mushrooms that still seem to glow faintly under its warm pulse. The clearing falls behind you, not vanishing, just settling back into quiet. You carry something with you now, not the weight you released, but the space it left behind. As the forest thins, you hear the distant sound of water, a slow creak winding between stones. The lantern pauses at the edge of the trees, hovering where the darkness begins to lighten. It brightens once, a warm farewell, a glow that feels not like goodbye, but like until next time. You step forward, and the lantern stays behind, choosing the forest over the open air, dim as a heartbeat settling into rest. When you finally reach the town's edge, your hands feel both empty and full, your chest lighter than when you entered. You pause and look back. The forest is dark, now ordinary, nothing visible between the trunks, and yet you feel the lantern still there, somewhere among the old roots and remembering trees, keeping its quiet watch until someone else walks into the woods carrying a small light they don't yet know how to tend. Tonight, Story 7, The Train That Passes at 3:11 a.m. There is a stretch of land beyond the last platform, a place where tracks once ran proudly across the fields, gleaming under the weight of a world that moved with purpose. But the rails have been gone for decades now, pulled up, sold, or abandoned to rust. The embankment remains like a scar through the earth, a quiet reminder of how travel used to sound. And yet, every night at 3:11 a.m., something impossible happens. A train passes, unseen but unmistakable. It does not roar, it does not screech. There is no metal grinding against metal, no horn splitting the sky. Instead, the sound arrives like a memory returning after being gone too long, soft, rhythmic, patient. A deep, steady rumble that moves across the fields and slips beneath your floorboards, like someone humming with their cheek pressed against the earth. The first time you hear it, you wake abruptly, not from fear, but from the strange sensation that the world beneath your bed has started to breathe. You sit up, listening, and the vibration hums through your bones, familiar in a way that feels impossible. No lights pass by your window, no smoke, nothing visible, but the sound, that soft, rolling sound, travels from one horizon to the other with the confidence of something that has never stopped running. People in town do not deny it. They've learned not to. Old men sitting outside the grocery store will nod when you mention the 3:11 train, their eyes drifting toward the empty embankment as though greeting an old friend. Children know the sound well enough that they tuck themselves deeper under their blankets, whispering about invisible passengers and nighttime journeys that follow no timetable but their own. Even the stray dogs lift their heads at 3:10, ears twitching, waiting. You begin listening for it each night, not out of fear, but out of curiosity. There's a comfort to the ritual. The way the sound arrives exactly on time, like a promise kept by something that no longer needs rails to follow its route. You sit by your window, watching the empty stretch of land. At 3:11, the vibration arrives, soft at first, then fuller, deeper, as though something with enormous weight is moving gently through the dark. You cannot help but imagine it, a long, ghostly engine, windows glowing faintly, carriages filled with quiet silhouettes leaning toward the darkened fields. No faces, only presence, only the sense of movement, of continuation, of a journey persisting long after the world assumed it had ended. One night, you step outside to listen more closely. The air is crisp, your breath rising like pale smoke. As the vibration swells beneath your feet, you hear something new layered within it. A faint metallic chime, like two rail segments touching briefly. A sound that should not exist anymore. A sound that feels like memory tightening its grip. The vibration rolls through the ground, past you, away from you. When it fades, the night grows so still you feel as though everything has paused just long enough for you to understand that something is keeping time for reasons you cannot name. The next morning, you mention the sound to a neighbor, a woman who has lived on this road longer than anyone else. She smiles knowingly, wiping flour from her hands as she shapes dough on her counter. "Oh, the train still runs," she says softly, "just not the way it used to." You ask her what she means. She shrugs. Some things don't stop just because the world decides they should. Then she lowers her voice, as though sharing a secret shaped by many years. Some passengers aren't finished traveling yet. The way she says it, calm, unafraid, makes something settle inside you like dust finding the right corner of a bookshelf. You begin to accept the train not as an oddity, but as a presence, a gentle one, that crosses the night for reasons beyond explanation. Over time, the 3:11 train becomes part of your sleep rhythm. You drift off earlier, knowing you will wake briefly at that minute. Sometimes you remain in bed, letting the vibration pass beneath your ribs like a lullaby from the ground itself. Other nights you sit by the window, hands wrapped around a mug of warm tea, waiting for the invisible carriages to pass. It becomes a kind of companionship, distant, quiet, but steady, predictable, reassuring in a world that often is not. Once at 3:10, you place a small object on your doorstep, a folded handkerchief neatly pressed. You don't know why. It simply feels appropriate, like leaving a note for a friend you may never meet. When the train passes, you feel the vibration rise through the concrete step, traveling through the object you left. In the morning, the handkerchief is gone. In its place is a paper cup, empty, but clean, as though someone carefully left it behind to return the gesture. The exchange feels private, tender, not supernatural, not frightening, just acknowledged. Another night, you walk all the way to the old embankment. The moon is thin, barely strong enough to outline your shadow. You stand where the tracks once lay, your feet crunching softly in the frost. At 3:11, the ground trembles. The hum deepens. Then a sound clearer than you've ever heard before cuts through the air. A slow, echoing rhythm of wheels on rails that no longer exist. For a heartbeat, you swear you see a faint gleam in the dark, like light reflecting off metal windows. But when you blink, the night is empty again. Only the sound remains, rolling through you with the familiarity of something that never wanted to disappear. You feel a sudden urge not to follow, but to speak, to offer something, a word, a name, a thought. So you whisper, "Safe travels." The vibration pauses for just a moment, as though listening. Then it resumes, continuing its steady journey across the fields. You stand there long after the sound fades, feeling strangely comforted by the possibility that something heard you. You return home under a quiet sky, your steps slow and thoughtful. The moment your head touches the pillow, you feel the phantom rhythm of rails beneath you, soft and steady, guiding your breath into an even, restful pace. It is not haunting. It is not mysterious. It is simply the world remembering a motion it once knew and refusing to let it be lost. The next night arrives with the kind of quiet that feels intentional, a stillness that makes you aware of your own breathing, your own heartbeat, as though the world is preparing itself for the sound that will soon cross through its ribs. You sit again by the window, hands wrapped gently around your knees. The fields outside are dark and patient. The old embankment lies like a sleeping river of dirt. You wait. At 3:11, the vibration rises through the floorboards, steady, certain, familiar. Tonight, though, something feels different. The hum holds a softness you haven't noticed before, a warmth beneath the sound, as though someone has adjusted the pitch to soothe you specifically. You exhale. The vibration seems to echo that release, matching your breath with the slow, practiced rhythm of something that has traveled a long, long time. You step outside again, pulled not by curiosity now, but by a sense of companionship, a strange comfort that makes the night feel less empty and more like a shared room. The air is cool, smelling faintly of distant rain. You walk toward the embankment, your footsteps quiet, your pulse steady. The train's sound is louder here, not overwhelming, but full, like a story being told from beneath the earth. You close your eyes. The rhythm passes through you. Soft shudders, rolling hums, tiny metallic echoes of rails that died years ago. For a moment, you feel as though you are standing in the aisle of a moving carriage, a presence at your back, a seat waiting for you, a window glowing with passing fields. It is not frightening. It is not surreal. It is simply familiar, like remembering a dream you've had 1,000 times. When you open your eyes, the embankment is empty, but the sense of movement remains. The sound travels past you northward, toward places the living trains once knew. You imagine invisible passengers resting their heads against invisible windows. You imagine someone adjusting their coat as though preparing to step off at a station that no longer stands. For a moment, you sense someone beside you. Not a figure, a feeling, a shift in the air, like a person settling into the seat next to yours. Your breath slows. You don't move. The presence is gentle, carried by the same rhythm as the passing train. It feels like someone who has been waiting for company. The vibration grows softer as the invisible engine moves down its ancient path. Before the last thread of sound fades, you hear, just once, a faint click, like a conductor's punch pressing through a paper ticket. You open your hand on instinct, and a small, warm object rests in your palm, a fragment of cardboard, old, softened by time, a ticket stub, just the corner of it, faded, unreadable, but undeniably real. Your breath catches, not with fear, with recognition, as if the world just handed you a small piece of something that refused to be lost. You hold the scrap gently, pressing your thumb over the worn paper. It hums faintly, a vibration almost too delicate to detect, as though carrying the memory of the journey that once stamped it into being. You whisper into the night, "I heard you." The ground trembles one last time as though answering. Then the stillness settles again, soft and clean. The invisible train is gone, but something remains in your hand, a small token of connection, proof that even the quietest things sometimes acknowledge being seen. Back home, you set the ticket stub on your nightstand. It looks ordinary there, a scrap of paper forgotten on a bedside table. But you know it isn't ordinary. You know it arrived from somewhere that defies the simple explanations people prefer to give. You leave it untouched, respecting its quiet weight. It feels like a whisper made solid. The nights that follow grow into a gentle ritual. At 3:10, you open your window, letting the cool air wash over your face. At 3:11, the vibration arrives, steady, dependable, like an old friend tapping gently at your door. Sometimes you sit for only a moment, sometimes longer, always listening, always breathing with the rhythm of a train that no longer needs rails to know where it's going. You start leaving small offerings again, not every night, just when you feel moved to. A polished stone one evening, a note another, safe journey. A piece of ribbon on a night when your thoughts were too tangled to hold on your own. Each morning, the object has changed, shifted, altered, or replaced entirely. Not always with something new. Sometimes the change is subtle. Your ribbon tied neatly instead of twisted. Your stone warm to the touch. Your note folded differently, as if someone read it and tucked it back the way they liked it. On one rain-heavy night, you find yourself unable to sleep at all. Your chest feels tight, your thoughts heavy. You sit by the window, wishing the train would come early, wishfully, quietly. At 3:07, the vibration begins, early, gentler, as though something felt you waiting and adjusted its schedule for you. You cover your mouth with your hand, emotions stirring in your chest, and the rumble deepens, warm, steady, like a reassurance placed directly beneath your ribs. You whisper, "Thank you," and the hum pauses, as if accepting the gratitude before moving on. Sometimes you think about following the sound, walking along the old path, step by step, following the deepening hum, until you find whatever remains of stations long gone. But you never do. Something tells you the train has its own route, and your place is simply to listen, to witness, to let the sound cross your nights like a familiar star that never needed the sky to shine. Weeks pass, months, the ritual remains. The vibration never fails, never deviates. It becomes a thread in your nights, a soft tether that keeps your thoughts from unraveling. On nights when you feel lost, the train passes. On nights when you feel whole, the train passes. On nights when you feel nothing at all, the train passes. Always, as though reminding you, in its own quiet way, that continuity exists even when certainty doesn't. And one night, as winter settles thick across the fields, you hear something new. A slow, steady bell, a station bell, ringing once, softly, far in the distance. A sound from a place no map holds anymore. You close your eyes. The bell rings again. A final time. And in the space between the chimes, the hum of the rails breathes through your chest like a lullaby waiting just for you. You fall asleep moments later, the ghost train's rhythm still pulsing gently through the walls, a reminder that some things continue traveling long after the world. Think Story 8, the room that smells like rain before storms. There is a room in an old boarding house, room 5, a room so unremarkable at first glance that most guests choose it last, if they choose it at all. The bed is narrow, the chair uneven, the wallpaper yellowed at the corners. It is a room the world has forgotten how to admire. And yet, it holds a peculiarity so gentle, so precise, that people return to it without fully understanding why. The room 5 smells like rain before rain, a scent that feels like the world, taking a deep breath just before the first drop touches the ground. Cool, mineral, steady, when the storm is still hours away. Long before the clouds gather, the room fills with that unmistakable fragrance, the smell of anticipation, of something shifting quietly, politely, in the air. The first time you step inside, You notice it instantly. The scent curls into your lungs like memory given weight. It holds the crispness of wet leaves, the sweetness of petrichor, the faint hum of a sidewalk darkening under distant rain. You pause in the doorway, not because you fear it, but because your body recognizes it. Before your mind catches up, you close the door behind you. The room exhales. You feel it, a subtle shift in the air, like someone smoothing out a wrinkled sheet just to make you more comfortable. You sit on the narrow bed. It creaks under your weight, honestly, softly, as though greeting you without judgment. The scent deepens. Your shoulders drop. Your breath eases. You didn't realize how tightly you were holding yourself until the room reminded you that storms are allowed to soften people long before they begin. The boarding house keeper, Mrs. Kellen, mentions room 5 only in passing. Some rooms, she says, as though speaking of children, just have their own ways of knowing the weather. Her voice carries a tenderness that makes you think she knows more than she chooses to explain. Later, you learn the truth from another guest, a tired-looking teacher with kind eyes and a travel bag held together by careful stitching. She tells you, in a whisper, softened by years of understanding, that room 5 doesn't predict storms, it prepares for them. The room senses heaviness in people, the same way the air senses pressure before rain. And when it does, it releases a scent that teaches your lungs how to breathe again before you even notice you needed help. You laugh gently, thinking she must be exaggerating. But that night, as you lie beneath the thin blanket, the smell of pre-rain deepens, soothes, undoes knots you lived with so long. You forgot they were knots at all. Your mind, usually loud at night, grows quiet, like a chalkboard being wiped clean. With soft, slow strokes, you sleep deeply, effortlessly, as though the weather itself is tucking you in. When morning comes, the world outside is freshly washed. Puddles glimmer on the street. Leaves cling to the walkway. The air is gentler. You realize the storm came after all, but you never heard it. Room 5 held you so completely that even thunder respected the silence. Over the next days, you begin visiting the room, even when you aren't staying the night. You stand near the window, hands resting on the sill, letting the mineral scent ease into you, letting it tell your nervous system that it's allowed to slow down before the world demands it. Sometimes the smell comes, even when no storm is approaching. At first, this confuses you. Then you understand. The room scents itself, based not on the sky, but on you, on your exhaustion, your unrest, your unspoken thoughts, like a friend who notices your trembling hands. Before you do, one afternoon, you find a small paper scrap left on the bedside table, not there the night before. The handwriting is neat, delicate, carefully folded. Weather is an excuse to rest. You laugh under your breath, not because it's funny, but because it feels like someone has finally said aloud something you've always felt, but never admitted. You tuck the note into your wallet, a charm for days when the world asks too much. Another evening, when your thoughts feel heavy and your skin hums with quiet worry, you return to room 5, seeking the pre-storm air. This time, the scent is stronger than usual, almost like the moment right before rain breaks open the sky. You sit on the bed, cupping your hands in your lap. Your eyes sting unexpectedly. The room shifts around you, growing warmer, as if placing a gentle hand on the back of your neck. A tear falls. The room holds its breath with you. This is the moment before thunder, before release, before the world finally allows itself to let go. You lean forward, elbows on your knees. The scent deepens, a rich, soothing mineral bloom that feels like an entire storm waiting inside your lungs. And when you finally exhale, your breath trembles out of you like the first drop of rain falling onto a long, dry earth. You cry quietly, not brokenly, but the way the sky opens after holding too much for too long. Room 5 remains still, as though keeping watch, protecting your small unraveling. When your tears slow, a soft draft moves across your cheek, warm like a fingertip. You don't look for its source. You already know. That night, you fall asleep early, your head sinking into the flat pillow, as though sinking into a soft puddle. The room stays awake for you, its air shifting gently, holding your breath with its own. You dream of rain gathering quietly on the lip of the world, waiting to fall only when you're ready to hear it. When you wake the next morning, you find another folded scrap on the windowsill. We keep small things afloat. You don't know who wrote it. You don't need to. The truth is felt, not explained. Room 5 understands the difference. As you gather your things, the pre-storm scent lingers, soft, barely there, an echo of comfort. You pause in the doorway, hand resting on the knob, and the room exhales once more, a warm, slow breath that brushes your shoulders like a farewell gesture performed by someone too gentle to speak it aloud. You step out. The air in the hallway is ordinary again, predictable, quiet, but inside your chest, your breath still carries the memory of the room that taught you how to soften before you break. You return to room 5 more often than you planned, not out of habit, but out of a quiet understanding that some places hold a softness you didn't know you needed until it found you first. Each time you approach the door, the air in the hallway feels slightly cooler, as if preparing itself for the room's small ritual. And each time you open that door, the scent greets you, gentle, early, like the very first whisper of rain, thinking about falling. Tonight feels different. You step inside, and the scent of pre-rain is stronger than ever, not overwhelming, just fuller, like a warm blanket spread over the shoulders of someone trudging home through a long day. You close the door, and the entire room seems to shift subtly toward you, as though listening for what kind of comfort you might need. You sit on the bed again, your hands resting loosely in your lap. You inhale, letting the room teach your lungs its slow, steady rhythm. Your shoulders drop, your heartbeat softens. The air around you grows warm with the mineral weight of rain soon to come. You whisper to the empty room, "I don't know what I'm supposed to do next." The lamp flickers, not in reply, but in sympathy, and the scent deepens, drawing close around you, the way someone drapes a blanket around a shivering guest. It is the same smell your childhood home carried on the nights when storms were slow to begin, those hours when the sky hesitated and the world felt strangely safe. In its anticipation, you stand and walk to the window. Outside, the sky is still clear, a clean sheet stretched across the world. No clouds, no wind, no sign that weather is changing. Yet the room insists. This is how it whispers. I know the heaviness you carry, even if the sky doesn't. A soft rustling draws your attention. On the chair sits a folded cloth, a towel neatly placed. You didn't leave it there. You didn't unpack it. But there it is, waiting for someone who may need to dry a face, or steady shaking hands, or press something warm against tired eyes. The room offers small things quietly. Always quietly. You sit again, and the bed creaks softly, not complaining, but acknowledging. The smell grows richer, as if the room is filling with the first breath of a distant ocean, storm, rolling slowly toward you. You close your eyes, and it feels like the world is finally allowing you to let go of the thoughts you've held too tightly. A few minutes pass, or maybe more, time thinning and widening the way it does before thunder arrives. When you open your eyes again, you notice something on the floor near the bed. A folded note, pushed just far enough from the wall that you cannot pretend it isn't meant for you. You pick it up, unfold it with careful fingers. The handwriting is unlike the previous notes, smaller, shakier, as though written by someone trying not to disturb the room they were staying in. It reads, "Storms don't come to break you. They come to show you what is worth sheltering." You sit with those words, feeling their weight settle in your chest, like a drop of warm rain sliding down your collarbone. You think of the storms in your own life, some loud, some silent, some still unresolved. You feel a small, unexpected relief, the kind that loosens something behind the ribs. A sudden shift in the air makes you look toward the window. The scent intensifies, deepening from gentle pre-rain to that electric hush the world makes just seconds before the first drop falls. But the sky is still clear, absolutely clear. Not a single cloud wandering its face. The room, however, has already decided. It knows something inside you is ready for release. The lamp dims, not out of power, but out of intention, as if lowering its voice so you can hear your own thoughts without interruption. You rest your back against the wall, pull the blanket over your lap, and let your eyes flutter shut. The smell grows warm, rich, almost sweet, reminding you of sidewalks steaming after fresh rain and quiet afternoons spent waiting for a storm that felt too gentle to fear. A shiver moves along your arms, not cold, just a shift, like a small truth settling into place. Your breath catches, then releases, slowly, quietly. The room breathes with you. Something begins to happen, something small, something soft. In your mind, you hear the faintest patter of rain. Not real, not outside, but inside the memory the room is giving you. A sound like drops striking the roof of a safe place, a rhythm that tells the heart it is protected enough to unravel a little. You lean your head back, and the imagined rain grows steadier. A lullaby formed from weather you haven't yet met. Your body loosens, your jaw softens, your eyelids grow heavier than they have in months. The tension you carried into the room has begun to dissolve, the way dry soil softens when touched by the first blessing of water. After what feels like an eternity and no time at all, you slip into sleep, not the kind that fights you, but the kind that welcomes you with open palms, and the room holds you as the imagined storm continues, quiet but persistent, like a guardian keeping watch on the other side of consciousness. When you wake, the pillow beneath you feels warm, your breath steady, your thoughts unknotted. You sit up slowly. The scent has faded into nothing, as if the storm has passed, and the world has washed itself clean. You look toward the bedside table and see one more note you know wasn't there before. Story 9. The portrait that changes when you aren't looking. There is an old sitting room in a house that has collected decades, the way trees collect rings, quietly, patiently, without ever calling attention to itself. The room is narrow, its walls softened by faded wallpaper and shelves that bow slightly under the weight of forgotten books. But at its far end hangs a portrait, a painting so ordinary at first glance that most visitors walk past it without giving it the courtesy of a second look. The portrait shows a figure, a person with kind eyes, a gentle half smile, and a posture that suggests they once loved sitting still. A peaceful painting, one that expects nothing from you. But the room knows a secret, and soon you do too. The first time you notice the change, it is subtle, so subtle you almost convince yourself your memory is playing tricks. The mouth seems softer, the tilt of the head slightly different, as though the painted figure had turned a fraction to acknowledge your presence. You blink, the moment slips away. The portrait looks the same again, quiet, composed, undisturbed. You tell yourself it's nothing, just misremembering. But the next day, you return to the sitting room, and the change is undeniable. The eyes, they are warmer, as if someone breathed life into the brushstrokes. While you slept, you step closer, leaning in until you can see the tiny cracks in the paint. Nothing moves, nothing shifts, and yet you feel watched, not in a sinister way, but in a way that feels startlingly intimate, like someone remembering your face long before you remember theirs. You leave the room, feeling seen in a way you cannot explain. Outside, the house creaks as wind moves past it, and you wonder if the portrait has always been this way, alive in a quiet, careful manner that requires patience to notice. As the days pass, you begin visiting the sitting room more often, not out of fear, but out of curiosity wrapped in comfort. Each time, the portrait is different, not dramatically, not startlingly, just changed enough to make you feel as though it is adjusting itself to match your presence. Sometimes the eyebrows soften, sometimes the eyes lift, sometimes the corners of the mouth bend into something like a private smile. You stand there, hands clasped, feeling a relationship forming between you and pigment and canvas and time. One afternoon, you bring a cup of tea into the room. Out of politeness, out of instinct, out of some unspoken understanding between you and the painting. You place the cup on the small table beneath the portrait and murmur, "I thought you might like some company." Your voice sounds embarrassed, but the room feels warmer for having heard it. You sit on the old sofa, tea steaming softly beside you. By the time you finish your drink, you look up, and the figure in the portrait seems to be holding something new. A small book, painted with such care, you cannot understand how you never noticed it before. You lean forward. The portrait remains still, but something in the painted posture feels like gratitude, a shared moment between you and a figure that learns how to greet you the longer you stay. You begin to leave notes behind the frame, not confessions, just small truths, written gently, folded gently. Things like, "I hope you had a peaceful night. You look kinder today. I'm trying to be softer with myself." The next day, you find a slip of paper tucked beneath the frame, not in your handwriting. The message reads, "You are learning. I see it." Your breath catches, not in fear, in recognition, in the warmth of being witnessed without being judged. From then on, the portrait grows more responsive. When you enter the room feeling heavy, the painted eyes look steadier, as though offering to hold what you cannot. When you enter tired, the portrait seems to soften into rest, mirroring the posture you wish you could sink into. And when you enter joyful, the figure's smile widens, just a touch, a silent celebration shared between two quiet souls. One evening, you arrive carrying a weight so deep you cannot name it with words. Your chest feels tight, your thoughts tangled. You walk into the sitting room, hoping for calm, but expecting nothing. Instead, you see something in the portrait that stops you cold. The eyes, they hold the reflection of someone you once knew. A face long gone from your life, a softness you had forgotten how to remember. Tears rise, not fast, not dramatic, just quiet tears that feel like the world exhaling through your ribs. The portrait does not chain as you cry. It simply remains, patient and open, as though telling you you don't have to hide from gentle things. You sit on the sofa for a long time, head bowed, breathing slowly through the ache. The room holds you the way certain memories do, firmly enough to keep you safe, softly enough to let you break. When you finally look up again, the portrait's mouth has changed, barely a fraction, into an expression you cannot mistake. Understanding. For the first time, you whisper to the painting, "I wish I knew your name." Your voice trembles. The room is still, but something in the air shifts, a quiet acknowledgement, like a page turning itself in an old book. You stand, walk toward the portrait, and touch the frame lightly. The wood is warm beneath your fingers, warmer than it should be. You take a slow breath, feeling the same warmth echo gently in your chest. You realize, suddenly and without fear, that the portrait isn't just changing, it is learning you, softening itself to mirror the parts of you that deserve gentleness. The room grows quieter, deeper, as though the walls themselves are holding a slow breath with you. You step back, letting the portrait watch you with its patient, changing eyes. And for the first time, you feel you are not facing a painting, but a presence longing for the same thing you are: connection without demand, companionship without weight, a gentle witness to the quiet work of being human. You return to the sitting room the next evening, not out of fear, nor even curiosity, but out of a quiet pull, as if someone or something has been waiting for you with the patience of dust gathering on a windowsill. The air feels warmer when you step inside, and the room's silence greets you like a soft blanket settling across your shoulders. You let your breath slow. You let the moment soften. The portrait watches. You look up at it again, expecting a small adjustment, a softened eye, a raised brow, the gentle narrowing of a painted smile. But tonight, the change is different, more intentional, more deliberate. The figure's posture has shifted, just barely, as though leaning closer, as though choosing intimacy. The painted shoulders angle subtly toward you, the chin lowered in a gesture that looks startlingly like someone listening. You whisper, almost without thinking, "Thank you for yesterday." Your voice trembles on the last word, not from fear, but from the strange relief of speaking to something that has already shown it understands you better than people sometimes do. The portrait's expression remains still, and yet the entire room feels as if it has exhaled in response. You sit again on the aging sofa, its cushions sighing under your weight, the way old furniture does when it recognizes a familiar visitor. You lean back, hands folded in your lap. The portrait seems to glow slightly in the lamplight, not brighter, but warmer, as though painted with colors that remember sunlight. You feel like company. You murmur a quiet truth. The painting does not answer, but something in the air changes, a soft thinning, a loosening, as if the room is giving you permission to take up more space in your own life than you usually do. You pull another folded note from your pocket, a habit now. You place it gently on the table beneath the painting. You don't unfold it yet. You're not ready. But the act itself feels like opening a door to a room you haven't visited inside yourself. For years, the portrait's eyes seem to soften. As you sit there, you begin to notice something new. The frame, once dull with age, has a faint shimmer to it, as if polished by invisible hands. It catches the lamplight in a way that reminds you of brushed gold. You reach out, touching the frame gently with your fingertips. It is warm, a warmth that moves under your skin like a pulse not your own. You withdraw your hand slowly, your breath caught between wonder and understanding. You kneel, lifting the frame carefully to peek behind it. Dozens of tiny paper slips rest there, messages left by strangers from years before, decades, perhaps longer. Most are yellowed with age, edges curled like dried petals. You unfold one. The ink is faded, but the words remain clear. "I was seen here for the first time." Another slip reads, "You understood me." You sort through several more, each note carrying its own small confession, its own quiet gratitude. You place your hand over the pile, steadying yourself as the weight of these unseen visitors settles in your chest. You are not the first to be held gently by this portrait. You will not be the last. As you lower the frame back into place. You whisper, "It must be lonely," listening for so many years. And for a moment, you imagine the painted figure leaning forward from the canvas, resting their forehead against yours in shared understanding. You feel a chill of warmth, the impossible kind, move across the back of your neck. When you look up again, the portrait has changed, only slightly, but unmistakably. The mouth, once a gentle line, has softened into something like a sigh or a thank you. You touch your own lip without meaning to, feeling the echo of the expression mirrored back at you. The room grows quieter, as though the walls themselves are leaning in. You settle deeper into the sofa, the lamp flickering softly. In the corner of your eye, shadows move across the floor, not alive, not threatening, just shifting the way shadows do when a place is breathing slowly. You turn your head back to the portrait, and your breath catches. The painted figure is looking directly at you, not vaguely in your direction, not generally toward the room, directly. Their gaze is warm, steady, anchoring. It feels like being recognized in the quietest possible way. You do not move. The moment holds you, the way dusk holds the last light, tenderly, without urgency. You whisper, barely louder than a breath, "I see you too." The painted gaze softens further, and you feel your chest loosen, as though something inside you just unclenched for the first time in years. A sudden idea takes you. With trembling fingers, you unfold the note you brought earlier. Your handwriting stares back at you, a single sentence you wrote when you weren't sure you could ever say it aloud. The note reads, "I'm trying to become someone who is easier to be." You place it beneath the frame. The moment your fingers release it, a soft warmth spreads through the room, a warmth that feels like acceptance, recognition, a quiet companionship that does not require fixing, only witnessing. The portrait's features grow gentler, eyes brighter, mouth lifted in a reassuring curve. You swallow a sigh. Your throat feels lighter. Your whole body feels lighter. The minutes pass, maybe hours. You lose track. The portrait does not move again, at least not where you can see. But you feel its presence settle around you like a shawl draped across your shoulders by hands that know your size. You sit with it, letting the soft silence shape your thoughts into something kinder. Eventually, you stand to leave, your fingers brushing the frame one last time. It is still warm, steady, alive in the way a moment can be alive, long after it has ended. You whisper, "Thank you for seeing me." As you turn toward the door, the portrait changes one last time, so subtly you almost miss it. A small curve in the painted cheek, a shy echo of your own smile, a farewell without words. You leave the sitting room slowly, closing the door behind you with quiet reverence. The hallway outside is dim, ordinary, unchanged, but something inside your chest feels rearranged, softened, steadied, as though a painted presence has handed you a new version of yourself to carry forward later that night. As you lie in bed drifting toward sleep, you picture the portrait sitting in its frame, watching the empty room with the patience of someone who understands the long work of becoming gentle. You breathe in. The memory of the portrait breathes with you, and together you ease revs when you feel safely witnessed by something that asks for nothing in return. End of story 9. Story 10. The bridge that hums at night. There is an old wooden bridge outside the village, a simple structure at first glance, its planks worn smooth by the soles of many passing feet, its rails softened by rain and time and the quiet patience of wood that has learned how to wait. By daylight, the bridge looks like nothing special, just a narrow crossing held together by iron fastenings and a long memory. But at night, the bridge becomes something else entirely. It hums, not loudly, never loudly, just enough for you to feel it in the soles of your feet if you stand very still and let the night settle around you. The hum is soft, almost shy, a vibration that rises from the planks, like the breath of a sleeping creature who does not wish to be disturbed. The first time you hear it, you're not even on the bridge. You're standing at the foot of the path leading to it, watching fireflies dance above the slow river. The night is cool, your hands tucked into your pockets, the air carrying a faint scent of wet stone. Then you feel it, a low, steady note moving through the ground. Not quite sound, not quite silence, something in between that feels older than the bridge itself. You step closer. The hum deepens, like recognition, like welcome. When your foot touches the first plank, the vibration travels into your bones. It isn't frightening. It isn't strange. It feels purposeful, as if the bridge is tuning itself to you, adjusting its pitch to match the tired rhythm in your chest. You take another step. The hum rises just slightly, warm, steady, the way a voice softens when speaking to a child who cannot sleep. You walk to the center of the bridge. The river below glides in slow circles, moonlight scattered across its surface like bits of broken mirror. The hum grows clearer, not louder, just more distinct, as if the bridge is gathering its thoughts before offering them to you. You lean against the rail, letting your weight settle. A long exhale escapes you before you even realize you were holding it. The hum shifts, gentle, steady, like an answer. You whisper, half to yourself, half to the night, "What are you?" The bridge responds with a slightly stronger vibration. Not communication, not language, just presence. A reminder that some things in the world do not speak with words, but with patience, with steadiness, with the ability to sense heaviness and cradle it quietly. Over the next few nights, you return, not out of fear or obsession, but because the hum has woven itself into the fabric of your evenings, a calm, grounding rhythm that anchors the dark in something gentle. Each time you arrive, the bridge greets you the same way. A soft vibration underfoot, never intrusive, never demanding. It waits for your steps. It listens to your silence. It adjusts its tone to match whatever weight you've carried with you. One night, you bring a small offering, a ribbon from an old gift you once kept, a ribbon whose color has faded, but whose meaning has not. You tie it to the rail, where the moonlight touches it. The bridge hums lightly, the vibration fluttering up your arm, like a thank you whispered, without breath. The ribbon sways gently, as though the night breeze has memorized the bridge's hum and is trying to hum along. On another night, you arrive worn down, your thoughts heavy with the shape of a day that asked too much of you. As soon as your foot hits the first plank, the hum shifts, low, soothing, almost like a lullaby. Your shoulders drop, your spine softens. You walk slowly, each step syncing with the bridge's rhythm in a way that feels unintentional, but deeply needed. At the center of the bridge, you rest your palms against the wooden rail. It is warm, warmer than wood should be. On a cool night, you close your eyes. The hum vibrates through your hands, into your ribs, into the tightened muscles in your throat. You breathe with it, in, out, slow, slow. The bridge does not demand anything. It simply hums, and you let your mind quiet in a way it hasn't in months. When you open your eyes again, you notice something carved into the railing, so faint you wonder how you ever missed it. The carving is small, 2 words etched with careful hands. We listen. Your breath pauses, not in fear, in understanding. Of course it listens. Every night you've arrived, the hum has shifted to meet you where you are. It listens the way rivers do, without interruption, without judgment, without asking anything in return. A few nights later, you find something on the bridge that wasn't there before. A small stone, smooth and pale, placed neatly at the center of the planks. You pick it up. It is warm, warmer than the air, warmer than your own hands. You close your fist around it. The hum travels through the stone, into your palm, a tiny echo, like a heartbeat that is not yours, but cares for yours anyway. You look up, half expecting someone to be standing at the far end of the bridge, but the night is empty, silent except for the hum and the slow drift of river water. Underneath, you place the stone back, feel the hum deepen, a soft acknowledgement, as though the bridge is saying, you may take comfort, but you do not have to carry everything away. You begin leaving small things regularly. A feather, a pressed leaf, the corner of an old photograph you no longer need to hold on to. Each time, the hum shifts, as if accepting your offerings, as if storing them somewhere within its quiet wooden ribs. Each night, the river below moves slowly, patient in its silver path. The bridge hums, and you breathe more easily. Then comes the night, when the hum changes, not louder, never louder, just deeper. It feels as though the bridge is humming, not just for you, but for the world beyond the trees, for some long-forgotten ache, moving through the night. You step onto the planks, and the vibration gathers beneath you, like a slow wave rising, steady, assured, inviting. You walk forward, your breath syncing with the hum. In, out, slow, slow. At the center of the bridge, you stop. The night is terribly still. The river is a sheet of quiet silver. The hum deepens again, so gentle you almost feel it more than hear it. And then, a single tap, a sound from beneath the planks. Light, delicate, almost like a fingertip, against a wooden desk. You kneel, peering into the shadows below. Something small floats on the water, a paper boat, perfectly folded, drifting slowly until it brushes the underside of the bridge. You reach down, retrieve it with careful fingers. It is damp, softened around the edges, but intact inside, a tiny sliver of paper. You unfold it. The message reads, "For the tired." Your throat tightens. You close your hand around the message, letting its meaning settle into you, the way the bridge's hum settles into the night. You whisper, without planning to, "Thank you." The hum rises, soft, warm, steady, as if the bridge is saying, "We hear you, we hold you. You are not alone on this night." You hold the tiny paper message in your palm, its edges damp, its weight almost nothing, yet somehow heavier than anything you've carried all day. For the tired, the words settle into you like warm water rising around cold ankles. Slow, comforting, unobtrusive. You breathe out, and the bridge hums back to you, matching the rhythm of your exhale, as though it has been waiting for that sound. The night feels gentler now. You lean against the railing, let your hands rest on the smooth wooden surface. The hum warms your palms, traveling up your arms and dissolving the last pieces of the day that clung to you. You close your eyes. The river moves beneath the planks, in quiet circles, patient and ancient. You feel the bridge, noticing your stillness, adjusting its hum to a slower, deeper tone, something meant to cradle rather than guide. Minutes pass, or maybe longer. Time feels different here, looser, as though the night stretches itself gently to give you room to rest. When you finally open your eyes, you notice something glinting near the opposite railing, a tiny metallic shimmer caught in the moonlight. You walk toward it slowly. The bridge hums in approval, its rhythm steady, its pitch lowering, as if smoothing the path beneath your steps. It is a locket, a small oval pendant with a rusted hinge and delicate engravings along its edges. You lift it carefully, feeling the warmth that does not belong to cold metal. It clicks open with the softness of a held breath. Inside, a tiny slip of paper, folded to fit its small chamber. You open it. A single line of handwriting whispers up at you. "Leave what you cannot carry." You stand there, the breeze brushing past your cheeks, the river's slow whisper beneath you. The message settles into your bones with the weight of truth. The bridge hums again, a long, low note that vibrates in your ribs as though echoing the sentiment. Not everything is meant to be held forever. You exhale. The air tastes cleaner. Your heart feels quieter. You pocket the locket gently, not as a treasure, but as a reminder of the permission the night has just given you. When you look down at the planks, you see faint engravings you've never noticed before. Circles, arrows, tiny carved lines that look like someone traced the shape of their wandering thoughts into the wood long ago. Some lines curve toward the river, some lead back to the village, but all of them seem. You rise, your hand resting on the railing, The hum steadies your breath, slowing your pulse, inviting your mind to drift the way river water drifts, effortless, guided by nothing but gentle currents. You walk back toward the center of the bridge, feeling the planks respond to your steps like an old friend shifting their weight to make room beside them. As you stand there, you notice something unusual. The hum begins to shift pitch in slow, deliberate intervals, lower then higher, then lower again. It isn't random. It feels like melody. A quiet pattern of notes hummed not by the bridge, but through it, as though something beneath the wood is singing softly to the river. The melody is simple, gentle, repetitive. A lullaby meant for those who linger at the edge of endings. You close your eyes, letting the hum and the melody settle around you like the softest quilt. Your shoulders release, your breath deepens. For a moment, you forget where your body ends and where the bridge begins, the two of you breathing in the same slow rhythm. A small splash echoes beneath you, not loud, just enough to open your eyes. You look down, expecting a drifting leaf or a fish brushing the surface. But instead, another paper boat floats into view. This one is larger, its edges crisp, its shape precise, as if folded only moments ago. It glides under the moonlight, turning slowly until it bumps softly against the underside of the bridge. You reach down again, lifting it with both hands. The hum grows deeper while you hold it, a resonance that feels almost protective. You unfold the paper. A message waits inside. You may lay your burdens here. The words loosen something inside you that tired years have held tight. You sit on the wooden planks, legs crossed, boat in your lap, and for the first time in a long time, you allow honesty to rise up your throat without fear. You whisper to the night, to the bridge, to whatever listens in this place, the things you never say aloud, about heaviness, about loss, about the feeling of carrying too many unfinished thoughts in pockets not built to hold them. Your voice shakes. Your breath trembles. The bridge hums low, steadying you as though wrapping its wooden ribs around your fragile truths. When your words finally fade, the night grows quiet. The river slows. The breeze stills. And the bridge hums a single note, so deep, so warm, that it feels like a hand pressing gently between your shoulder blades in reassurance. You close your eyes. A tear slips down your cheek, but there is nothing sharp about it, only softness, only release. After a long while, you stand again. The bridge hums gently beneath your feet. You lean over the railing, holding the unfolded boat in your hand. This one, you whisper, voice barely audible. I won't carry any more. You place the paper boat back onto the river. The current takes it with slow, deliberate grace, a small ceremony of letting go. You watch it drift until it becomes part of the night. When you turn to leave, you feel something on the railing, a tiny carved phrase you've never seen before, shallow and new, as if etched just moments ago. It reads, "Go gently." Your chest warms. You touch the carving softly with your fingertips. The hum rises once, a tender farewell. and then settles back into its quiet rhythm. You walk across the bridge slowly, each step lighter than the last. The night feels changed, but so do you, as though a long-held burden has dissolved into river water and humming wood. When you reach the end, you pause for one last look. The bridge glows faintly under the moonlight, its hum barely audible now, but still steady, still kind, still holding the shape of every story ever whispered to it. You breathe in, out, softly, softly, and the bridge hums back one final time, a note so gentle you feel it only in your chest. You turn toward the path home, the night wrapping around you with quiet approval. Your steps are slower, your breath looser, your heart unburdened. Somewhere behind you, the bridge continues its lullaby, steady, constant, a place that holds the tired without asking anything in return. As you drift into sleep later that night, you will swear you feel a faint vibration in your mattress, like the echo of wooden planks humming beneath the soles of your feet. And perhaps you'll smile, a small, tired smile, knowing the bridge hums for you long after you've walked away. End of story 10.